Hello and welcome to The Actor and the Engineer. My name is Paul James. I am the actor.
My name is Josh Knapp. I'm the broadcast engineer.
Here we go, Josh.
Oh my gosh, you really put the screws to me this time. Like, we've been doing top 10 forever.
Not
and then
forever.
You're like, no, we're just going to do top 5. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem. And then I started looking at my list and I'm like, oh, this is going to be rough. So I did it though. I'm ready.
Okay, well, let's clarify first of all. There's two people in this relationship called the podcast, the actor and the engineer. If the engineer wanted to do 10, he should have spoken up. Second, we did top 5 for like the first 5 or 6 years.
You're probably right.
It's only been the last couple of years that we've actually done 10 because of exactly what you're talking about, that we were having a hard time condensing it.
It's so hard.
For whatever's sake, we're doing 5 tonight.
No, it makes sense. Since we will have a shorter show this year because we're only doing 5 each instead of 10, I did want to ask you how your first directing foray went in the theater. So it should be the actor/director and the engineer going forward, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's a little bit, it doesn't trip
it's
off
cumbersome
the tongue. Yeah, it's hard enough for me to get what we actually are called out, let alone put an extra slash in there. It was great. It was overall everything I was expecting to be complex and perplexing was not. And there were things that came up that I just wasn't expecting. And I had no way of knowing, first of all, because I've never directed a play, the instinctual ideas and the instinctual knowledge of the theater comes really easy for me. Where something should go and how something should sound and how something should move, very instinctual for me. Came like almost more natural than acting. And I don't consider myself that natural of an actor. It's a tough craft, and it's different. It's different going up on stage and doing that stuff versus standing back and saying, "Hey, yeah, that works. That doesn't work. Do this. That's great. That's amazing." Well, that's seems to be a lot easier. So I'll start with co-director Heather Miles, and then she got married. So she's now Heather Harper. She's a dream come true. She's logistically smart, just smart when it comes to the internet, how to connect people, and the organizational skills that she has are intense. Her ability to stand back and let me do whatever I wanted to do, her ability to speak the truth, regardless of me putting my foot down, her ability to compromise, which I'm not very great at myself. I mean, I did okay. I'm not knocking myself down. So, and then she got me this really cool director's hat, which is backwards probably. Yeah. It's a little too formed right now. I need to get it a little bit more.
You gotta break it in.
Yeah, I gotta break it in.
Few shows in, you'll be fine.
Yeah. When I opened the gift, I thought it said dictator, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure how to take that.
Showing your hand there a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So we had 4 performances. Opening night was amazing. They were on fire. It was just like zip, 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 zip. They were playing around. They were having a good time. People got laughs that I wasn't expecting to get laughs, and I was happy for them. Heather came up with a couple of really great ideas. Instead of doing an announcement or having the 2 directors come out and say, "Hey, come, thank you, sponsor us," which I particularly do not care for because it breaks the fourth wall. You've seen the movie, so you know the character Teddy Roosevelt, the brother Teddy. He's
in Arsenic and Old Lace. Yeah.
Yes, he's a Brewster who thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt. So she came up with this great idea to have him record the opening message, and at the last minute decided to do it live, which was great because it was the same but different every night. It was a really brilliant idea. And there's a time change in the middle of one of the acts, and this cop, O'Hara, is telling this story about this play that he wants to write with Mortimer Brewster. And of course, it puts a couple people to sleep and so forth and so on. And during the blackout, we brought up these blue lights. So, and when there's a lot of nighttime stuff that happens in the play too. So we brought up these LED blue lights, which kind of glow like black lights. Mm-hmm. So Heather came up with an idea to have O'Hara act out the play during the break. Yeah. And so the people came and changed everything they needed to change as he's acting it out. It looked like live animation. I laughed hysterically every night. So those creative things were amazing. The cast was amazing. Then there were a couple actors who were just kind of like doing their things and they couldn't break free of what they were doing. And I would give them suggestions. And one night the actor kind of took the suggestion because he realized what was happening wasn't working. But he had to determine it wasn't working. Mm-hmm. And he came walking through the door and he just was in a different thing. And I was like, yes. And we went out to dinner later on, and it was just an amazing conversation to see somebody light up knowing that a creative plug was plugged in and we both were on the same page. And I knew he could get there. He just wasn't getting there. Mm-hmm. And he had to figure out how to get there. And it kind of colored the rest of his performance. So it was an amazing experience. I'm glad it's over with because of the drive and the time and the work and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I'm glad I've experienced it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I was looking at my list. And, you know, of course, I couldn't have watched 60 movies. I watched 58 movies last year. So, which is that's good. I mean, that's a little bit more than my average. So I was proud of that. I know you don't track that as tightly as I track those types of things. That's the engineer in me, but yeah.
Well, I will say this. Amazingly, this is the first year that the top 5, I have not seen any of them twice. By this point, I usually, And no, I never track that stuff because I get halfway through it and I go, ugh.
I will start with some honorable mentions. And they're movies that we just haven't talked about, but I definitely feel like need to be said on the podcast that they were at the top of my list, close to the top of my list as far as like engaging films that I just never found a space to really talk about them. One of them is Love Lies Bleeding. Have you seen that movie? Mm-mm. It's a Rose Glass movie. She did a horror movie called Saint Maud, and then she did this movie, Love Lies Bleeding, starring Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. Katie O'Brien plays a bodybuilder, and Kristen Stewart. Is a gym. She works at a gym that happens to be owned by her father, who's a really, really bad guy, played by Ed Harris with a horrible wig that he's like bald on top and he's all like stringy hair. He's super creepy. Like everything is just like soaked in sweat in this movie, and it works. And the movie starts off one way and then it goes to a totally different land, and it's a movie that can only be a movie. And I really, there's a lot of the movies on my list this year are exactly that. It's like, well, could it have been a play? Oh, could it have been, an interesting, book? Maybe, but like the dynamics of film really fit this movie. So yeah, Love Lies Bleeding. What's your first? Do you have any honorable mentions?
I do, but I was wondering how many of your honorable mentions would have made it to your top 10 list?
I mean, it's like 11. Love Lies Bleeding is my 11.
Oh, okay.
There's other ones that are in my top 10 that we've talked about that I'm not going to really bring up as an honorable mention. We've already talked about them.
Right. I got you. I have 3 honorable mentions only because we made 5. And, you forced me into that. I'm just saying.
Of course.
So Dune 2. I have to mention Dune 2. Mm-hmm. The top 5 I haven't seen more than once. Dune 2 I've seen 3 times. The second time I watched it, first time I watched it, it was overwhelming. And it was just a spectacle. The second time I watched it, I realized how precise things were and how succinct things were. And then the third time I watched it, I realized how close it was to the book. And the stuff that, because I don't know if you remember when we talked about Dune 2, I was like, oh, it's a whisper movie. When they have dialogue, they're all whispering about something. And you're like, wait, what? So a third time I put on the subtitles because I wanted to see what it was like. And they get a lot of stuff in there that I think most people are unaware of, and maybe I'm more aware of it because I read the book, and then recently reread it with listening to it on tape, or whatever you call that now. And so it's just a spectacle. It should not work. It should not work on film. And both of those 2 films work, and this one in particular has a quality about it. I actually think the second part is more interesting for me than the first part because of the religious Messiah political overtones. It's not even overtones, it's all the tones.
It's overt.
Yeah, it is. But it's so subtly done, and the performances are so down to earth. that you can't not take it seriously. So yeah, Dune 2.
Nice. All right. So here, that's another one, and I think I texted you too.
Yeah.
Because I watched it like way late. I did. I was very cryptic with my text, and I just said like, here is a good movie. That is all.
And I kept looking at the phone, going, "Where's the GIF? Where's the video?
Yeah.
Like what is?" It was like a who's on first type of moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Here is a good movie. Okay, what? And then you were like, "No, here, capital H-E-R-E. And I was like, "Oh, okay." I feel silly, but funny.
That is a movie that once again I had zero interest in. I heard the premise and I was like, that is not going to work. They're going to de-age these, Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and it's just going to look atrocious, and it's just not going to work. It's going to take me out of it. I'm not even going to look at it. And then Steph and I started rewatching Back to the Future. And after we were like halfway through Back to the Future 2, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch here. It's available. I'll just watch it. And it was really good. The constraints that we've talked about other filmmakers giving themselves constraints, even like Lars von Trier and Thomas Vinterberg and all those guys, the Dogma 95 guys were like, nope, here's the rules we have to follow. It's very easy, it's a very simple premise of you can't move the camera, period. That's it. How do you make that dynamic? And they have different things that they do to intercut between different time periods, and they do it really well. And it's not a wipe transition. It's not a star wipe. It's not anything like that. It's very clean and precise, and the way they do it. And they also, the movie never drags. And if you're like, oh, it's just about a family. No, it's about like 4 families, and it bounces back and forth enough to where you're engaged the whole time. You're like, okay, at what part of this family's development are we watching now? And what's going on in the world at this time? And you're constantly, like, for me at least, I was always engaged, and that was really cool. So
was that an honorable?
Yeah, I kind of slipped it in there as a non-honorable. I don't know. It is an honorable mention. It's not in my top 5.
Okay. Well, real quick, Sing Sing is an honorable mention. I can't say that for some reason. It's a fantastic movie. It's about a theater company in prison. Yeah. I'm in. How is that going to work? I'm in. Coleman Domingo, his second Oscar nomination. There's a couple supporting characters that are so good and just bring you through. And things happen in it that you're not expecting. And I would think I would know how that is going to play out. And it's a real thing. It's based on a real story. That's crazy to me. And that you can feel that they got it right. You can feel what those people go through in real life. And also Wicked. I put Wicked on honorable mention because it's a triumph. It works completely for me. It won a bunch of production Oscars, as well it should have. A lot of people kind of sidestepped it, saying, oh, that's the obvious choice. But it's the obvious choice for a reason. And the way the movie moves and the way the movie flows, the performances are stunning. And Ariana Grande's performance will be, not that Cynthia Erivo's performance won't be, but Ariana Grande's performance will be talked about years from now, going, hey, this person from the Disney Channel just stepped into movie stardom, although she's been working since she's 12 or 13 when she was on Broadway. But she stepped in and became a movie star, but she's also an actress. And the timing, I will never understand that kind of instinctual timing. And it's instinctual. Sure, there was choreographed things where she had to dance on the ceiling, literally. And there were things that were directed and things that had to have certain motion. But the little things that she does,
she's been doing
incredible.
Music, she's been doing music videos, and she's hosted SNL multiple times. I mean,
but there are people out there.
You're right.
Sorry to interrupt. There are people out there who, with all due respect to Madonna, she never has transferred over. She just doesn't, whatever it is, doesn't transfer her. And she's done a ton of SNL. She's actually funny on SNL. When her and Mike Myers would do those Jewish women. Yeah. Really funny. So sometimes that transfers, sometimes that doesn't. So I would like to see Ariana Grande go back on stage. I don't know if she has time or she's getting ready to do promotion for the part 2 coming up. But Yeah, so I would like to see her do whatever she wants to do, and I cannot wait for part 2, because if she gets a second Oscar nomination, she will win it, and it'll be the first time I think in Oscar history that somebody was nominated for part 1 and part 2 and wins for part 2. She'll win it. If she's nominated again, she'll win it, because she was right there, and people were like, "Oh yeah, we kind of gave it to Zoe, and so we're gonna stick with her." All right, so do you want to go with number 5?
No, I have one more honorable mention. You're not gonna get away with just me doing 2 honorable mentions. You did this. It's all your fault.
No, I did not.
So
You agreed.
Also, by the way, I'm gonna preface this next honorable mention by saying there's a lot of movies I'm not gonna say in this top 5 list that are great movies that we've talked about, but I'm gonna use this position, this honorable mention position, to talk about a movie that is right now available on Amazon Prime, and it is called Hundreds of Beavers. And it is a silent film made by a couple of guys, and it's in black and white, and it's like a Wile E. Coyote type of a movie. It is shot in that way, in that same manner, and it's very funny. The comedy and the timing and the performances are like, it's like a silent movie. It's great. There's no dialogue really. I mean, there's a little bit of dialogue, called? But Hundreds of Beavers.
Hundreds of Beavers.
Yeah, like there are a bunch of animals in the film, but they're all played by humans with like a beaver suit on, or a rabbit suit on, or a dog suit on. I mean, it's hilarious. So there you go.
Interesting.
I'm not gonna talk about Anora, but I am gonna talk about Hundreds of Beavers. Okay, go on. Your number 5.
Youngster, are you revving up? Okay, so number 5, A Complete Unknown. And I did not think this would make my top 5 list, but I kept coming back to it because of one reason and one reason only. This film should not be as good as it is. It just shouldn't be. It should fall into some of the trappings, and it doesn't. None of them. It is very even toned. It really, we talked about this on the podcast. It has no like crazy conflicts. I mean, it has conflicts, obviously. The conflicts from outside of his life are more influential conflicts than actual conflicts in his life. Yes, there's a love triangle. Yes, Joan Baez has stolen his heart. Yes, Elle Fanning is somebody you should always come home to. But this movie should be not interesting and kind of boring, and it's not at all. It's because they filmed those things live, those songs live. It's because James Mangold has a handle over what his narrative is. It's because it's 4 years and not a biopic of somebody's life, or however many years this is. I think it's 4 or 5 years. And it's Timothée Chalamet's performance, and he came this close to winning that Oscar. I'm 100% convinced that the number of people between him and Adrian Brody are maybe even single digits. Maybe not. I exaggerate to make a point. But he is so believable as Bob Dylan. He made me interested in Bob Dylan. I listened to Bob Dylan for almost 3 weeks, off and on, here and there, because of that movie. That says something. So, A Complete Unknown. Number 5.
Number 5, A Complete Unknown. That's in my top 10. But I can't talk about it. So
my God.
I'll stop.
You are not going to stop.
No,
this is going to be. I just would like to state for the record that it didn't take you long to agree to it, by the way.
No, it's a good challenge. It really is a good challenge. It did help me to understand, isolate, what was the most important things for me in the movies that I wanted to raise up and I wanted to talk about. And a lot of it does come down to writer directors, that kind of a thing, which I think all of mine are writer. Yeah, all of mine are writer directors, or at least co-writer directors. And my first movie, my number 5, is Nickel Boys. And it's a movie that I can't not put on the list and I can't not talk about, even though I had a whole conversation about it. It's that it's somebody who, it's the first time he's done a narrative film, a narrative feature-length film, and he just knocked it out of the park. He, once again, gave himself a certain amount of a constraint, but he also modified it. Well, he did, but he also modified it, and he wasn't beholden to a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. It's a storytelling tool, and I think that there are ways that you can make something like that a gimmick. And so for me, that was what helped this movie kind of transcend just a basic kind of like, oh, this is a very dire situation, a very dire subject matter, and how am I going to connect with it? How is he going to utilize the tools of filmmaking to allow the audience to connect with it in a different way, in a way that I've never connected with a story before? And I think that is something to be celebrated. Great performances, amazing cinematography, great craftsmanship throughout. So yeah, I was engaged and I was gonna say I love it, but I mean, like, yes, I guess I love it as a film, but like it's
it's
a
kind of
hard
hard
film
to
to
say.
watch.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to say. I love it. I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I agree with you so much. It's my number four film on the list. It is, and I realized when I was making the final 5 list, which is obviously not as hard for me as it was for you. Save it for the stage, brother. I'll direct you next time.
Thanks.
Yeah. You got to look forward a little bit more. Anyway, the thing is that all 5 of mine are unique storytelling processes, but they're all done. You say constraint, and I think that's a good word. They all have an idea, even a complete unknown, which could have gone either way. It could have gone really artsy. It could have gone really normal, mainstream-ish, if you will. And somehow it went right between those. And it was interesting. Same with the Nickel Boys. That idea of the point of view camera, you're right. It could have been a constraint in a bad way. It could have kept us emotionally disconnected from the story. But the way that he does the interspersed shots where you see through the window of the car when they're first driving into the detention area, the things about how the sidewalk is kind of in focus during some of those scenes versus the actual person, because the person looking at you is looking down. It goes all the way down to the poster from the film, that overhead shot of the 2 boys. It's a great
reflection.
poster.
Yeah.
It's an intriguing poster. It immediately goes, what's with this? So yeah, it's not a film you can say, I loved it because it's so devastating, but it is a film that I would say to people, you need to engage in this film, and that's it. I'm not saying anything else to you because I think you're either going to click into it or you're not. Obviously, that's an easy thing to say. But if you click into it, it is worth it. So number 4.
My number 4 is Dune Part 2.
Oh, there you go.
So I've seen it, I think, 3 times now. And for me, though, like, I'm not as steeped in the lore as you and Justin Arner, who was on our podcast about this time last year, talking about this movie are. And so I haven't read the books or anything like that, but just the, like you said, the visceral feeling of being in the theater, the score, the sound design, just the kind of heaviness of the everything around you, whether it's the space, the Emperor's spaceship that's coming down, or the sandworm, you getting so close to the sandworm and really understanding how huge it is when he's on top of it and when he's riding the sandworm. I mean, well, whatever it is, I almost said Well of Souls. It's not the Well of Souls. That's an Indiana Jones thing. The kind of like the River of Souls or whatever it's called.
I can't think of what it's called now.
It's, I mean, and I understand it's like set extensions and stuff and all that, but still, there's a scope that I feel like they went for in the first movie, but in this movie, I feel like somehow, even though we're mainly just like on Arrakis, we're not on Caladan or anything like that. We are on what's the Black Sun planet? I can't remember what it's called, but everything is just huge in scope. That to me was a tall order for Denis Villeneuve to get, like you said, all of that exposition in, but then do it in a dynamic way, and then kind of make it a war movie, but then also make it a political movie, and then get adding more characters, and then keeping the old characters, and then also having the dynamism between the characters, and determining what the intrigue is between these different people, and where does Léa Seydoux fit in there, and then Florence Pugh's here now, all of that stuff. I felt like I followed it, even though I'm not, steeped in the lore of Frank Herbert. So every time I watch it, I find more stuff. But I wasn't hearing all the whispers that you were hearing. But that's what I love about a dense movie, is that every time you watch it, you can dig in deeper. And I can dig in as much as I want to dig in. And there's always going to be something there for me to dig into. And so that's That's really cool.
Giddy Prime.
Oh, okay.
As soon as I saw Giddy Prime, I was like, how do I not know that right off the top of my head?
I mean, come on.
It's because I was constrained into doing only 5 pictures, but whatever.
You had more time to research. That's what you should have done.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. All right, so we're on number 3, correct? Or my number 3?
Your number 3.
The Seed of the Sacred Fig. I cannot stop thinking about that movie. I've thought about it so much that I've kind of reinvented it in my head about not reinvented it as in moved around something in the film, but what happened in between this and what happened in between that. So I have invented things in my head to fill in what we're not seeing
connective
on screen.
tissue.
Yeah, like connective tissues. And it dawned on me, there's not much you can say about this film other than see it, because you could talk about it. You can go into the political ramifications of their life, the religious ramifications of their life, all in there. And we talked about this on the podcast, that it's learning about a culture that I don't know anything about. So, but it was learning by it, learning through their dinners and their conversations and the way that she held her hijab in that office at that point, learning things. But then it dawned on me, this is actually a really well-drawn thriller. It's a thriller. And the narrative takes you one place and then an hour later takes you somewhere else. And how they connected the two, so much so that you didn't even realize, remember when we were talking about it, that it had been an hour since the gun went missing. Or before the gun went missing.
Yes.
And it's in the trailer, so there's nothing that I'm saying anything. I think it's in the trailer.
But it just seems like that's at the very, in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
But it's not, which is crazy, which means that the exposition that he puts out there in the first hour of the film was so interesting that the narrative connective from the first hour to the second hour is so strong that you thought it happened sooner than it did, because the stuff that he puts in there before that is so important for a lot of reasons. And then it becomes this hide in a shed thriller, and you don't know where it's going. You don't know why it's going where it's going. And you come out wondering so many things about life and this family and what it must be like to live there. And it's just a brave film. And, I'm Still Here won the Oscar for foreign language film, which I'm thrilled about. But the only other acceptable choice was this film, The Seed of the Sacred Fig. I mean, there are a couple good ones on that list. But so, yeah, it's one of those ones that when people ask, I say, well, it's subtitled and it's not an easy movie to watch, but you should engage with this film. So there you go.
Yeah, that's great. All right, my number 3 is The Brutalist. And really? I know I don't know if it's cliche or what, but it's an A24 movie and it's 3.5 hours long, and it's a very navel gazing type of a movie as far as the older technology used in shooting the film in VistaVision film, and I think that it's also writer director, and it's doing something where it's making architecture interesting to me, which is difficult. I mean, I'm not really that big of an architecture, fanboy, but it's drawing parallels between creators and their creations, and then the journey of creation. And there's movies about actors all the time, but this isn't necessarily a movie about an actor, about somebody who creates something, or about a craftsman, a gunsmith or something. It's somebody who creates a meeting space or a building or a place for people to live or a place for people to work. I mean, it's got an extra layer of those things. And then now what does Brady Corbet pull out of that, and how does he connect that to a particular story of someone coming to America, why they came to America, were they accepted, how were they accepted, who were the people they run into, who were the people that there were their actual friends, who were the people who were, using them, who were the people who were trying to extract things from them. And it takes a while for him to do that. And so that I think I never felt like the movie was over long. I also really enjoyed, both times I saw it in the theater, really enjoyed the intermission. That is something that directors shouldn't shy away from, or producers shouldn't shy away from. I understand not everybody can do a 3.5 hour long movie, just because with movie theaters it doesn't work out very well, especially a large, a huge movie. I know Dune 2 was pretty long, so it wasn't 3.5 hours, but it was pretty long. I think it was 2:46. So that's how long Dune 2 was. But still, I mean, it's not touching the Brutalist numbers, which was like 3:36. So that includes
plus 15 minutes.
Well, no, it includes it.
But it did?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But still, I mean, yeah, it's sitting there, and it's part of the movie. The performances were great. The score, which actually won the Academy Award for score, and it was Daniel Blumberg. He definitely deserved that Academy Award. I can't think about The Brutalist and not think about the score. And that is something that is, it's like the Inception score. When I think about Inception, I think about the score. It's that kind of a iconic score. Adrian Brody's performance is great. I mean, and Felicity Jones' performance. I mean, I still, we talked about it, but I mean, I still think that she's, even though she got recognized for it, I don't feel like she got recognized enough for it. So, but yeah, so that's my number 3.
Well, Felicity Jones, if she had been pulled out a surprise win, which would have been so unexpected, there's not anybody who could argue it. There's nobody who could say, wow, no, she would have deserved it if she had won. And I think that recognition is good. And I think that performances like that should be recognized, because she's only in the second half of the film. You have no time to connect to her except for what you already know. And then by time, I mean, there's a lot of things happen that once she takes the screen that are hard to deal with. Yeah. And, her, for lack of a better term, and I don't mean to minimize it, but her pointing finger monologue closer to the end of the film, and what you've done and what you have done to my husband, is devastating, because it's so filled with authority. It's so filled with, I am on the right side of this and you are on the wrong side of this. And it's that would be hard to pull off. Okay, so number 2, right? For me, Strange Darling. Yeah. So at first I didn't think it would make the list because it was made in 2023. But then I went back and I looked and I was like, why is it?
It was in the theater in 2024 for us. That's
correct.
Where I count it. Yeah.
That's well, Sing Sing was 2023 and released in August of 2024 also. So I just can't believe a movie like this went so unnoticed. I mean, people noticed it in its time, but people have not discovered it yet. And I'm a little surprised. Yet another film on my list that I cannot stop thinking about. I keep thinking about, every time I hear anything about the world getting ready to blow up or some traumatic thing, I think of Barbara Hershey being a prepper and being, like
Squatch.
Squatch
will get you.
Yeah, it comes out of kind of nowhere, and it's not even a necessity for the narrative, but it's one of those textural colors that they decide to put in there. And that's the writer director too, right?
J.T. Molnar.
Yeah, Molnar. The performances are stunning. The 2 leads are stunning. You never know what's happening next. The absolute starkness of the blue light and the red light, and the way that he decides, I'm not going to try to do anything than color this all in red. And it leaves an emotional impression on you. And, I dig a blue light. Trust me, I fought for blue lights in the show. And we got them too. I'll send you a picture. So I cannot wait to see this film again. The only reason why I almost started watching it again recently, but I stopped because I wanted to talk about it on my top 5 list. And I thought, well, is a second viewing going to dim that light a little bit? I don't think it will. But knowing everything going into it might be interesting, but also a little, it can be a little let down to already know. Yeah. But I'm curious to see what we were not able to pick up because we didn't know what was coming next. Yeah. And the fact that JT, correct? He subverts your idea of what you think you know about these two people, all these people actually. You think you know what's going on, and you think when the cops show up, you know what's going on, and you think when she's driving down the road with her that you know what's going on, and then you don't. And that's amazing to me, especially in 2025 or 2024, where everything is put on the internet. Everybody talks about everything. But this film went under the radar. Many people have not heard about it. There's a lot of films on my list that a lot of people have heard of, but just haven't gotten to yet. That happens after the Oscars. People kind of catch up. But this one, it's probably going to be the type of thing that Molnar will make his next film, or one of these actors will make their next film, and they'll become Oscar nominated, and they'll be like, oh, wait, what, how come let's talk about that in the press junket for whatever movie they're in now. It's going to be great.
That happened with Florence Pugh. People going back to see her in Lady Macbeth and previous movies before Little Women. And then obviously Florence Pugh kind of just blew up, you know. She was in the Black Widow stuff, and now she's in Thunderbolts, and then, you know, obviously all the other stuff she's done with Oppenheimer last year, and then I mean she's just,
well, she came by it all honestly with
Dune
Midsommar. She came by it honestly. She became a star through that movie. At least,
you think so? You think she was like out there with that movie enough, or do you think it was more
about
Little
that
Women?
Movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you calculate that.
I mean, that's when I knew. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, she is.
Well, you also knew her from the wrestling movie that she did.
Oh yeah, Fighting with the Family. Oh my gosh, so good.
And she did a movie version, but I think it's like a live teleplay. I'm not sure how they classify that now, of King Lear with Anthony Hopkins. And I had seen that, and she came and went, and I never put it together until I went to watch it again, and I was like, oh, no wonder I liked her in
She
this.
was also the star of Little Drummer Girl, which was a Park Chan-wook mini series with Alexander Skarsgård and Michael Shannon, and I mean just a bunch of people in there. So
a convergence of things happened.
Yeah.
She is a movie star now because of Black Widow, Little Women, her Oscar nomination, Thunderbolts, the Hawkeye TV show, or whatever,
and Dune 2 now.
And now Dune 2, which is a little bit of a shame because she's such a talent. He decided not to. That character narrates the book, or narrates the situation, which she does in the movie too.
I think she's in the new Christopher Nolan movie too, like the one they're shooting, right? The Odyssey.
Well, who isn't?
That's also
true. It's got like 40 people in it. So
yeah,
Strange Darling. I'm interested in seeing it again. I'm interested in talking about it with people. I can't wait till it catches fire, and it will. It might take a few years, but it needs to, because it's good.
Oh yeah. All right, my number 2, Civil War. Alex Garland's Civil War.
Interesting.
Yep. It's something that I think he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he did it as the writer and director. He got the right people in place. Kirsten Dunst. I was re-listening to our podcast a little while ago, and then you brought up a good point. You're like, she's the exact right moment in her career to play this part, because she was a child actress. We've seen her a lot. We've seen her grow up, and then we can see her as a war-torn, just battle-tested journalist, and she's tired. And then we also get to juxtapose that with Kaylee Spaney's character, who's just starting in her journey as a journalist, as a photojournalist. And we get to see those two, and how as one rises, one falls. And as one gets excited, the other gets dismayed. And how they kind of pass the torch, and then the other people around them too, the other characters around them. And just the fact that it was sold in one way, and then you sit down in the theater and it's something totally different, but something probably more engaging because it's less partisan or less preachy, or it's really not any of that. It's just kind of like, this is a reality. There are civil wars. There are places that are riven with war, and we need to shine a light on that to hopefully help to prevent it in the future. So, and we need to shine a light on all of it, the difficult parts and the touching parts in certain cases, but mostly more of the difficult parts. And so that all of that together, plus amazing performances, like we said, by all, and then just kind of drop in performances by Jesse Plemons and, a couple other characters, the snipers kind of that were fighting against the guy across the field.
Yeah, like what?
Just little.
It should be on.
Yeah.
Okay, if we had a top 10 list, because you stopped us from having one, it would probably be on that list, because I was gonna make it an honorable mention, but I was trying to not make 6 honorable mentions.
I've seen that movie 3 times, and every time I see something else.
Yeah,
that
I can't
little
wait to see
subtle
it again.
Performance things for me, like a lot of the settings, and then the music choices, the needle drops are just impeccable in this movie. And he's using like 1960s synth, which there's like 5 bands in the 1960s that were doing synth in the early 60s. It's that kind of stuff where you're just like, where do you find this stuff? But it works. It's tense and it's engaging, just like the film. So yeah, I love it.
Well, there are 2 moments in that film that have stuck with me and I think about often, especially when I'm you've only been to Richmond a couple of times, or once, right? Or
yeah,
a couple.
Once.
Okay. Well, it's filled with historic buildings, obviously, and there's a lot of these alleyways and a lot of these small little businesses that you turn, and it's a tree filled lane, and it's a little shopping center. So when they're in that town and the town is acting like there's no civil war going on, he goes, well, just slowly turn and look up, but slowly do it. And the guy's on top of the building. Whenever I walk down one of those streets now, I look up and I think to myself, well, what if? What if? And that moment when Kirsten Dunst is asked if she would take a picture of her dying, and she goes, what do you think?
Yep.
And then what happens at the end of the film, it's pretty amazing. And then I was also just thinking about as a matter of fact, taking a shower. I guess because we were getting ready to do this podcast, and I was thinking about Nick Offerman at the end, his quote, and the journalist is like, good for me, or whatever the line is, that'll do, or whatever. And it's
good enough.
Master. Well, Alex Garland. How many times he's been on our top 10 list, at least mine.
Ex Machina is my favorite movie of that year, I think. But
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
that's severely good too.
It is. That was his first movie.
Whatever. Shut up. I hate him. No, I'm kidding.
we did talk about Men, and I tried to pull as much out of that as I could, but it's not like he's a golden boy or whatever. It's not like I'm a complete fanboy for Alex Garland, but when he makes something that is this engaging and that is so codified, it fits together so well, I'm here for it.
Well, one last thing about Men is that it might be a movie before its time, and it might be because he did, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because it might be something I don't fully understand and I didn't fully engage with, but he got to do what he wanted to do, and I'm fully behind that. All right, so going into my number 1.
Yep.
Can you guess? Can you guess?
I can guess. Do you want me to guess?
Yeah, you always guess.
Okay, it's Anora.
It is Anora. What a triumph that film turned out to be. Something about it is so special, and it's very divisive. It's splitting the internet. Some people love it, and some people go, I don't get this at all. And that I love, because that's Sean Baker. And Sean Baker is not, I don't know, but he strikes me as the type of person, and I don't know him, I'm saying through his work, that the Oscars aren't going to matter to him, that he's going to still make the most divisive film the next time. And I don't even think he cares about any of that stuff, meaning whether or not he makes a divisive film or not. He doesn't care.
I don't think he does. I think he doesn't need us. No. He literally doesn't need us.
No.
He's going to make these movies.
Yeah, and I think he was super happy and super elated that he won, and he he is now part of Oscar history. 4 Oscars in one night. That's amazing. It's bolstered by Mikey Madison's Academy Award winning performance. I can't wait to go back and watch it again so I can see the subtleties that I didn't, I felt and maybe subconsciously got, but it's going to be different. And then my boy, Yura Borisov, who I call Yuri, kind of like a nickname like Tommy or Jimmy. It's the best supporting performance of the year for me. We talked about it on our Oscar cast. I hope he works more. I hope they find ways of utilizing his talent. He's Russian and has a Russian accent. Sometimes you can't get rid of those things, but people have spent entire careers with accents that
look at Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, look at him. Well,
I mean, you can look at him too, but I mean, just as far as like his performance, as far as his voice, he's never tried to not have his voice. So
right, and Penelope Cruz has a little bit of an accent, and her best friend, I can't think of her name. Oh my gosh, Frida. Snake dancer,
Salma Hayek.
Yes,
got it.
Still a little bit of a dialect issue going on. Not issue, but just that's part of who they are. So,
sure.
Yura Borisov, I hope that they find a place for him because it is such a stunning, subtle performance. And amongst all of this energy that film Anora goes through, it's a really simple narrative. And some people that's bothered, that they're like, nothing really happens in this. And I was like, but that's, I think, the point. The point is that the nothingness that we go through every day combined together in an hour and a half film is a lot. And what she has to go through, what you see her go through, and the idea that we have respect for her for what she does because this is what she does. And she has no time for me to judge her. She has no time for anybody to judge her. This is her job. There is an intangible quality to that film. I don't know if there's an adjective that I can describe that movie clearly. And also, I think it's the second time that the Best Picture win has become my favorite film of the year. I think Parasite was.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So it's interesting how I think I would traditionally become a little defensive about people and the divisive nature of this film at this point. But I just kind of get a kick out of it because I kind of get a kick out of, well, I got it. Whatever he was putting out there, I absorbed and I got it. And that last scene with the windshield wipers all the way to the very end, I don't even know what it is. And I read an article that somebody said it doesn't matter, and we might have talked about this, what it means. It only matters how you felt. Yeah. And so some people are going to feel this and some people are going to feel that. And some people are going to have no idea what to feel. And how many Academy Award winning Best Pictures can you say that about? Where the narrative is not completely in your face and explained, and this is how you're going to feel about this, and this is what you should feel. Not that there's anything wrong with that. The end of that movie is so not defined, but yet impacted me.
It is, and in fact, just you saying that, it reminds me of the Graduate. The end of The Graduate, and you can pull whatever you want from that. Different people at different points in their life may be thinking about that differently. Young people watching that may think about it totally differently than people who've been married for a long time, or people who have been through a divorce or whatever. Or people who have fallen in and out of love. I think the same thing with Anora, and I think we haven't said this enough, but this is a perfect time to bring it up, is tone. We talk about tone all the time on our podcast, and I think that Sean Baker is a master of tone. It's very dangerous to do what he does in this movie. He has explicit sex scenes. He has slapstick comedy, like Keystone Cops level comedy.
Go flying across the room into a glass coffee table.
Exactly. He has serious, heart-wrenching scenes, the one of which is the last scene. He has characters going through really deep emotional issues, and he's able to balance all of that. And I never feel like I don't know what's going on, or I never feel like this is awkward. I want somebody to do something else, or I expected this and this other thing happened and it came out of left field, or that person wouldn't do that, or why are these people saying it? I never felt that. I felt in good hands, and I think that's a really, really great filmmaker.
Well, I'll reiterate one last thing before we move on to your number one. I don't know any film, and I'm sure they're out there, that has given people permission to not know how to feel about it at the end. It's okay to not know how you feel at the end of that film. I mean, there's a lot of films you don't know what you're supposed to feel at the end of it, but this one is purposely set up to allow you to feel whatever or to not understand that. And I don't know if anybody at this point in filmmaking could have done that as well as Sean Baker did. So, Anora, number one.
All right, my number one. Let's talk about Strange Darling, because it's my number one.
I don't blame you.
I mean, it's kind of been my number one for most of the year, and I really try to be careful when talking about it with people. There's a few people who've seen it at work or just like around who I've talked to, and most of the people are like, you really need to see this. I don't want to say anything to you, and they'll watch it and they'll be like, oh my gosh. I was not expecting that. And that's the key. It's just I was not expecting that. And also, I think in the same way that there's a purpose to what JT Mulner did, and it's like he had an idea in his brain, and usually it seems like usually the idea, that the concept of something like this is always better than the eventuality of it, than the realization of it. But I think in this case, I don't know what didn't go right for him, because it seems like it looks amazing. The score is effective. The songs, they had a group do the songs for that, the Love Hurts cover and a couple of those things that are kind of some of the needle drops that are in there, getting Barbara Hershey and Ed Begley Jr. for their small parts. And then also getting Kyle Gallner, who I guess has been in a lot of horror movies. And you're kind of playing upon, it's called Kyle Gallner from these other horror movies. Like, here we go. And then getting Willa Fitzgerald, who, like, you'd seen her before, I guess. She was in a couple of different things that you'd seen, but this is the first time I've ever seen her.
Yeah.
So, getting them kind of like right at a really nice spot. And then finally, Giovanni Ribisi, getting a chance to play with all of the cameras and lenses that I guess he's been collecting over the years. So
crazy.
And so he was the cinematographer. So they were committed to shooting film, much like The Brutalist. That right there is another commitment to something. They're wanting to get a certain look, and they're also taking a risk because it's way easier to shoot on digital. It's way safer to shoot on digital, and getting a movie to look this good with the extreme lighting, like you talked about, the blues and the reds, the saturations that you get can be recreated to a certain extent with digital, but it's way easier to get that kind of saturation with film. And then some of the like epic shots that they did, I don't know if you noticed the first time you watched the movie, but there's a particular scene when she's running away from the hotel room. It's a single shot, and the camera literally like gets on a golf cart or something, and she's running towards it. And so it's one of those like where you're just like, it should have cut here. Like you instinctually feel like, there should be a cut here. But because there is no cut, you're just waiting for something to happen behind her. You're waiting for somebody, for him to chase after her. And the tension is there, and it's always there. Even in the scenes when nothing's really happening, there's still an underlying level of tension. A lot of that has to do with the score. But then also shot selection, and it's way more, it's a fun movie to pick apart. And I don't think that JT Mulner would be mad about, somebody picking apart his movie, because it seems like he spent the time and energy to make a movie that's intricate enough to pick apart. And it's a serial killer movie. I mean, that's what it is. It's a genre movie. It's a horror movie, but you can still dig in way, way deeper than you can on Friday the 13th, part 9. So, yeah.
Well, that conversation they have in the truck at the beginning of the film, when you see them together for the first time, you think it's one thing, and you think the tension is coming from the sexual tension and what are they going to do next and blah. But it's actually, once you know how it plays out, the tension is something else. The tension is that we're being deceived and we don't even know it, and we don't even know who we're being deceived by. And when we find out who it is, I was like a little angry that I fell, and I think we talked about this on the podcast originally, that I fell right into exactly what he thought I was going to think.
Exactly. It reminds you of Michael Haneke. He
subverted it so quick. What's that?
It reminds you of Michael Haneke, like funny games type of a thing.
Yeah.
Also, Piano Teacher. I just watched that movie.
I don't know that film.
Ooh.
Oh, wait.
It's a Michael Haneke film, or Michel Haneke. I don't exactly know how you say his first name, but
Corbett.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Still made a good movie.
Yeah.
But yes, so that you're right. Yeah, that was amazing. Now this movie is on Paramount Plus right now, so it's a lot easier to see now than it was when we both had to like seek it out in the theater. But yeah, it's, if you haven't seen it, oh my gosh, go see it.
I'm so happy that was your number one. Yeah. I'm interested in the fact that Anora's not on there, but it is a top 5 versus a top 10. I thought Strange Darling was going to be forgotten, and maybe not just, but it's impossible. Yeah. And I think back then, I think I said prematurely that it's probably going to be my favorite movie of the year. And I'm not taking that back. I just didn't know Anora was coming. Sure. And it's like, it's number 2 to it's number 1. So can you really rank a movie? No. But the experience I had during Anora is very similar to the experience I had during Strange Darling, not because of the narrative being the same, although in a way it's got a thread that could connect it. It's that it's just unexpected. Everything is unexpected in both of those two films. It just is. And Strange Darling is one of those films I cannot wait till it blows up, because people are going to be talking about it going, how do we not know about this film? And what's going, and that's not, what?
Yeah, why didn't it get, I wonder why it didn't get like memed like Saltburn got memed last year or something. But it's not a memeable movie. I don't want it to be memed.
Barry Keoghan dancing around naked in it. So I mean, maybe if Kyle would have done us a favor and I mean, had a couple of
Fitzgerald's out there for everybody, but
absolutely. By the way, The Fall of the House of Usher is where I first saw her, and she's strikingly different in that versus this. There's a powerful quality to both the characters, but they're completely, period-wise, they're completely different people. And I would not have recognized her if I had already keyed into her in the The Fall of the House of Usher. And then when I saw her in this, I was like, wait. And you get that sense that I know this person. Wait, do I know this person? And then when it clicked, I was like, she's got a twin. I didn't know that, but it's the same person. So I would have liked but this happens to us often. There's always a film that goes under the radar that ends up being on our top list of favorite films of the year. And this is it. It's the film that, didn't garnish any nominations. It didn't, not that I know of, none of the mainstream, if you will.
No, it didn't.
Yeah. But people will discover it. There's no way this kind of film will go. It might even take 5 years. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it just does. But when it does, people are going to be like, wait, I didn't even.
It's probably going to be when it hits Netflix. At some point, it will probably hit Netflix, and more people will see it, and they'll be like, have you seen Strange Darling?
No, tell me about it.
And they'll be like, no, I don't want to tell you about it.
Sometimes I will act like I don't really like to lie, so I don't really say no, I haven't seen it. I go, oh, what did you think? Not really revealing that I have seen it. I want to see what people say about it before I actually, tell them that I saw it or what I thought about it and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, that's a good place to end it. So one more year into the books, and then now we get to talk about. I've only seen 2 movies so far this year that came out in 2025 because I've been catching up on 2024 movies. So
I haven't seen any.
You haven't seen any? Oh, I saw Mickey 17. Bong Joon-ho's film.
Oh, yeah, I'll see that.
Okay, you can check us out on the web at actorandengineer.com. You can go to facebook.com/actorandengineer. And we're on YouTube. Just search for the Actor and the Engineer podcast. And we'll see you next time.